Greetings ladies and gents, welcome back to the Craft Hammer. I'm your host Stefan, and in this episode we're going to be talking about the upcoming 10th edition for Warhammer 40k. Now specifically, we are going to be looking at what army should you be collecting for the next upcoming edition. Every faction is getting new and shiny rules, and most importantly there's been some really nice fancy new models that have been revealed. And you've been tempted and you're thinking to yourself, damn, this is a perfect time to start a brand new army. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at that and giving you a few tips on how to approach, choosing your next army. First of all, let's talk about the brand new box that has been put up on pre-order and will be out for general release pretty soon. We are of course talking about the Leviathan box. If you have put your money down and put in your order, I would argue that you've kind of made a decision for yourself already. You have two forces there, both the Space Marines and the new Tyranids, so it doesn't really make sense for you to choose an army that's outside of those two bundles. You've spent quite a bit of money on the box set, so you might as well just stick to those two armies, or just choose one side if you're splitting with a friend, and build yourself up and paint a 2000 point army. Now this is where my next point is going to go and ask you the simple question of, do you already have a 2000 point army that you can field and play with right now? If the answer is no, and you are still currently working on your first faction, I would highly advise against buying a brand new army for the 10th edition. You are only setting yourself up for starting new project and never actually getting to finish them. It will be a constant perpetual cycle where you buy the new thing because it appeals to you in that moment, but when it comes down to actually building it and then painting it, your motivation simply disappears. Now, it will be a very difficult task, so if you don't have that 2k force in your pocket or you are very close to getting there, it's gonna be difficult, but batten down the hatches and I'd highly recommend that you try to build and paint for the next month or two. One of the best feelings in this hobby is reaching that 2k fully painted milestone. Sure, you might have a few more models in the backlog and a few more parts to get the project done, but you have a 2k point army and you're able to play, and that feeling is quite amazing to have. Now, enough of that, let's get round to choosing a new project for us to start. And the first point that I'm going to make is discussing the underlying fundamentals that are present within 40k when you play it on the tabletop. Regardless how drastic the rules change over the edition, there is one thing that stays pretty much the same, and it is these underlying fundamentals. For example, how you move and you occupy the board, how you take over objectives, how you deny objectives from your opponent. Your codex might be completely different over the next while, but in reality, these specific things pretty much remain the same over time. Now, that doesn't mean that we're here to provide the most meta-optimized list so that you can win every single game, but instead I'm gonna give you a simple trick on how to choose your next force so that you will have fun playing it and it will still perform somewhat decent. Now, you won't win every tournament, but it will keep you motivated and you will be able to maintain that hobby progress, knowing that you will have a good time when it comes to the actual play. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what exactly is this trick? And I'm going to tell you now. The best way that you can choose your next faction for Warhammer 40k 10th edition is to make it thematic. Each faction generally has different flavors that can be played. Yes, you can probably pick and choose specific units that you can mix within a faction, but my advice is to focus on a specific theme that a flavor might provide. At the end of the day, the entire point of the hobby is to have fun. If you have always thought that the speed freaks for the orcs were a sweet idea, then it's time to make that army. Following a theme like the Speedwa for the orcs will provide you a boost when it comes to the actual hobby side, and the models following this theme will have a basic synergy around their rules, which will make them enjoyable when it comes down to fielding them on the board. If you look at previous codexes, what they've attempted to do is capture the feeling that the faction has within the lore. This is what you should be trying to do for your second army. Find yourself a theme and choose your next army based on it. Go all in on speed, or maybe go all in on close combat. Once I finished my Space Marine goals, my second army was the Chaos Knights, and specifically when the new Knight Abominant was released. I loved the fact that the new Knight Abominant was a psyker and that its whole purpose was to bring dread to the battlefield. So that's how I approached the rest of the army. I added a few extra spikes, a few extra skulls, and it really helped with the hobby side to motivate me and paint up and build up the army. I'm going to be leaning heavily into the Knight Abominant, regardless of how effective or competitive it might be within tournaments. There's only two things that really matter: creating a thematic army that you're having fun with, and having that army cause a bit of both inspiration and a tiny bit of jealousy in other people when they look at it and they're thinking, wow, I wish I could run something like that. It looks great, and maybe if I put my head down, I'll be able to get a force just like that. So forget about chasing the meta and instead think of the theme and lore that excites you the most. The rules will change and the power of models will wax and wane, but choosing a second army based on a kick-ass theme will make it a joy to both paint, hobby, and play for a very long time. Hopefully this has helped you focus your thoughts on what you should be choosing for your next project. If you need a bit more advice, drop a comment down below and I'll see what I can do. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and I shall see you next time. Take care, folks.